quarter, but it just feels like it's devolved every year since then. And then last year you have the 211 to 186 debacle.
Oof.
That was no fun to watch. I didn't hear a single pundit. I didn't hear a single fan. I didn't read a single thing that was like, hey, that was an enjoyable experience.
No.
So they needed to do something.
Yeah, I mean, Adam Silver was in the crowd, like, wanting to throw in the white towel, like the Apollo Creed.
He was seething.
Throw in the towel!
He was seething at the end of that game.
Of course he was, and he should be, because people pay good money. This is supposed to be your showcase, right?
Yeah.
And instead of it being a showcase, it becomes just a complete joke. And, again, like, look at the year before. De'Aaron Fox, of course, didn't make the All-Star team last season, and neither did Domantas Sabonis, which was a joke that neither one of them made the All-Star team. But if you go back to the year before when De'Aaron did, he looked so disengaged. He played like a couple of minutes and was like, no, I'm good. Like, I think he was just taking it all in. He was also a new father at that point. Like, they just had a baby. But still, like, somehow you have to incentivize this for players. And I'm not sure what you do to do that. We've talked about maybe home court advantage during the NBA finals or whatever it might be, but that, again, isn't going to matter.
Why does that matter to LaMelo Ball?
Yeah, that's true.
I
don't even think he knows what the finals are.
He might.
I don't think so. I'm going to guess. He doesn't know what the finals are.
Thinks you just play basketball all the time.
Yeah.
So here's what the new format is going to look like. Again, this is according to Shams for the 2025 NBA All-Star Game at Chase Center. 3 All-Star teams made up of 8 players each. And then the winning team in the Rising Stars Challenge would enter this pool of 4 teams. And then there would be a tournament where, like, team 1 would play team 2 and team 3 would play team 4. And those would be the semifinals. And then the winners of those teams would play in the All-Star Game final. Shams said that the 2 semifinal games will go to 40 points, first one to 40. The finals game would be to 25. With the goal of more compact, intense, fast-paced action.
Okay.
I kind of rock with it.
I do too. Like, it's broken. Whatever it's happening, it's broken. You need to try something different and see if you can fix it.
Well, and if you have a target of 40 points, right? This was the goal of the Elam ending. To say, okay, the target score is now 116. First to 116 wins. And I think by making it like this, okay, it's 40 points. So that game's going to go quick. There's going to be some urgency. But it's also going to require your team to play defense a little. And I think at some point in the old All-Star format, nobody wanted to try because it was 2 teams and nobody wanted to be the guy who was going to go set a competitive tone when nobody else wanted to.
You don't want to be the defensive try-hard.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just bad form.
But if it's LeBron James on a team and Steph Curry on a team and the goal is 40 points, I think you're going to see guys trying to get stops.
Okay.
And I think that this is and maybe it doesn't work. Maybe one team wins 40-10 because the other team's just messing around and it's all stupid. But I love the idea. And I love that one of the teams is the Rising Stars, where, hey man, you're in the Rising Stars Challenge, you're Keegan Murray, you're Keon Ellis, you're whoever, and you get a chance to go up against a team with LeBron James and Damian Lillard and whoever else.
Yeah,
you're going to want to go win that one.
No, that's true. And then if you're a veteran team, the last thing you want to do is lose to the Rising Stars team.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, oh, no, we can't have that.
Yeah, we're not losing to Brandon Miller.
Okay. I'm here for it. Like, look, whatever changes need to be made, just make them. It's fine. Like when you have a bad product, you have to figure out ways to change that. And, I don't know why people would rush to Utah, to Salt Lake City to go watch a game that's non-competitive and hope that you get a really good slam dunk contest, which again was non-competitive.
That's the other, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, the harsh reality of this is the All-Star game needs to be in like 5 cities, maybe fewer.
Yeah.
Because no, seriously, like, you want Malik Monk to go be in the dunk contest. You say, wow, Malik Monk is an awesome dunker, and he's 6'3", so when he gets up, it looks amazing, and he's creative and he's powerful. Like, yeah, we want that guy in the dunk contest. Hey, Malik, do you want to come hang out in Indianapolis for a few days in February?
Instead of going to the Caribbean?
Instead of going to your favorite vacation spot?
Yeah.
Like, no. To do the dunk contest in 2024 against who? Obi Toppin? Oh, no, Obi Toppin's brother?
Oh, yeah.
Like, no thanks.
And who's the other kid that is always trying to make the Orlando
Mac
Magic?
McClung?
Yes.
Warriors legend Mac McClung.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, dude, get it. That's the problem. I guarantee if they went, hey, the All-Star game is in Miami, you're going to get more guys coming out for the dunk contest. You might get, I don't know, who are the Shaden Sharp and Malik Monk and pick your favorite in-game dunkers.
Yeah.
Apparently Trey Mann.
Yeah.
That poster, the other night.
That was wild. Yeah.
It was sick.
I think that they're also like, how about we have like a poster meter like throughout the season, and whoever's ranking the highest like in-game posters gets into the dunk contest.
Yeah, and then incentivize that in some way.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I think players who dunk in games would, and it can't, well, I guess you could do like, well, it'd be tough because then all you would have is big guys who dunk all the time.
Yeah, it couldn't be number of dunks. There'd have to be some kind of score. No, but I think, I don't know, man. This can't be the only change they make to All-Star Weekend, because I think we see this with every All-Star game in every sport. Like, the MLB All-Star game is fine, but mostly because it's hard to fake baseball. Like, it's really hard to dog a baseball game in the way you can dog it in a football game or in a basketball game. We've already seen the NFL change up how they do their Pro Bowl. I don't know how many more people consume it, but at least it's something a little different.
Yeah.
I think All-Star games used to be special because you might never get to see, if you live in Orlando, you may get to see Charles Barkley, but twice a year when the Suns play the Magic.
Mm-hmm.
And if Charles Barkley was your favorite player, hey, now I get to watch him in the All-Star game, and it's going to be this big deal. And all these players who you don't get to see except for when they play your favorite team are on the court together, and it's this like special thing. But now you can watch, if you have League Pass or Twitter or YouTube or an illegal stream, you can watch Victor Wembanyama or LaMelo Ball or Steph Curry or De'Aaron Fox or whoever your favorite player is anytime you want.
Yeah, that's true.
And we get there's so much exposure with national TV games and with highlights and with ESPN and just around the clock news coverage that I just don't know how special it will ever be to have all these guys in one place again.
Yeah, I also, like Major League Baseball's All-Star game. I don't know, when did they institute the rule where you had to have one player from each team? Because I think that downgraded the idea of an All-Star game as well.
Isn't that always been the case?
No,
I'm going to go look it up.
I'm not sure what year that was, but like that kind of cheapens it a little bit, where it's like, hey, a team that's not good and, you got a bunch of guys who are like incredible off the charts, a bunch of guys batting like 306 with 30 homers at the break and, a bunch of RBI. And then you have some dude walk up who's batting like 276 and he's got a couple of homers and it's like, hey, that's the best we got. I don't know. Like, I don't particularly love that.
Yeah, I think though every player or every team gets a selection. There's too much here for me to dive into, but I think that every team gets a selection thing is a good idea when it was what we were talking about, where there wasn't as much access. But now you get interleague play, you get every team playing every team, you get highlights, you have the MLB TV package where you can just see players all the time, where I think every team needs to be represented can go away now. That's silly.
Yeah.
Just put the best guys in. But also, I don't think MLB has an all-star game problem. I think they've made a lot of tweaks. I think it's still just kind of the Midsummer Classic, and hey, we're gonna watch Tarek Skubal take on the best 3 hitters in the National League because he's starting, and that's gonna be fun. Oh, and then we're gonna get this carousel of high-end starters or closers every inning to end this game. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, I think of the All-Star games, Major League Baseball has figured it out. And it got out of control there for a little while.
Mhm.
And as soon as it got out of control, they fixed it.
Mhm.
You know, again, they put something at stake. They put,
Yeah.
you know, home field advantage for
which was
the
dumb.
World Series.
I
But,
hated that.
yeah.
I hated that so much. Like, it doesn't matter that much, but I don't think, like, to me, it didn't change the game. I didn't watch it more intently.
No, but that's not the point. The point is to get the players to play harder.
To get people to watch more intently.
Yeah.
Did you notice a discernible difference in the All-Star game when home field advantage was at stake? Because honestly, like, that matters for what, 4 teams?
Yeah, that's true.
Why does the A's All-Star this year give a damn about home field advantage?
Yeah.
What like there were
He's like, I'm gonna pipe this 103-mile-an-hour fastball because I don't care.
I'm Mason Miller, baby.
I'm Mason Miller. We're not going to the playoffs.
No, yeah, but that's what I think in baseball it's so much harder to fake it. Whereas in basketball, like, it was just gross. So I'm hoping this works.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I think it will, because there's a competitiveness of being like, 40 points. Okay, we're gonna get to that first. And to do that, we have to get some stops.
Yep.
But B, a huge issue, I believe, was you have this schedule, and that's already players think it's too compact, and you have rest, and you have load management, and you're battling that. You're battling injuries.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many injuries? We're going to talk about Luka Doncic later. How many major injuries have we talked about already in the league this year? Or injuries to stars?
Yeah.
Kevin Durant's hurt, and Joel Embiid, and Paul George, and Paolo Banchero, now Luka Doncic, and Malik Monk, and Domantas Sabonis, and DeMar DeRozan. There's all these guys that are already banged up. And so I think by the time you get to February, it's like, I just want some time off. But you're LeBron James, you're Anthony Edwards, you're Victor Wembanyama, you're Anthony Davis. You can't take the All-Star game off, so you dog it.
Yeah.
You're not going to try. So by making it 40 points, it's like, you need to try for, how long is it going to take them to get to 40? 10 minutes?
Yeah.
You need to try for this burst. And there's going to be 8 players on your team.
I also feel like the All-Star weekend itself, it's just too much for the players. Like, when they get there, it's exhausting. They get bussed from one place to the next. It's like, hey, you got to go do this Habitat for Humanity thing. Hey, you got to go talk to this group of kids. And I know those are all important things, right? Mm-hmm. But in the grand scheme of things, their entire, like, 3 days or 2 days is so, like, booked out that it's exhausting. They don't have a minute to have any downtime at all. And they need downtime just like anyone else. I mean, they want to spend time with their family. I mean, you know, De'Aaron Fox has 2 little babies. He wants to spend as much time at home as he can with the kids, because, you know, during the regular season, you know, sure,
I'm going to be at home a lot.
He's not going to be home tonight and tomorrow. He's got to go to LA to go play the Clippers. He'll be there on Sunday and Monday and Tuesday, but then he's off to Portland and wherever, Minnesota. So, you know, you're always on the run. It's like you're on a business trip all the time. And sometimes when you get a week off, you just want to decompress and sit around. And I get it. And so I also understand why the NBA continues to do it, and why players they're so excited to be nominated and to get to the All-Star game. But then the process, once you are there, it's just like, it's a bit of a drag.
Yeah, and you mentioned all the stuff during the day, and then you're a Nike athlete? Well, Nike's having this party that you got to go schmooze at, starting at 9 p.m.
Yep.
And it sounds exhausting.
Oh, totally.
On top of all the media responsibilities.
Yep.
And then you get there and it's a zoo when you get there. Like, it's not a normal
And then every question that you get, like, is, if you were a Smoothie King smoothie, what flavor would you be? That's your media session. And you're just looking at it like, okay, can we not go to New Orleans again? I can't do this again.
That sounds horrible.
Yeah.
I hate that so much. NBA All-Star new format. We'll see. 2025. February 2025 is when this would be implemented. The fact that Shams is reporting that the NBA is in serious talks to change the All-Star game, to me means it's happening.
Oh, yeah, it's happening.
And thank God. I'll watch. Like, now I'm locked in
Mhm.
because it'll be different. And maybe it still sucks, but I'm going to watch it. I'm going to pay attention. But I think it's going to be fun. I think this is a good idea. And honestly, like, I appreciate that Adam Silver recognized how terrible the product was.
Yeah.
And is willing to make changes and not just lean on tradition. So you need one player. Like, you need one. I mean, really, you need LeBron James to set the tone. LeBron James goes out and plays really hard and takes it super serious. That's what everyone will do. That's it. That's it. Like, that's that. Anthony Edwards could do it. Ant was disappointing to me last year because Anthony Edwards is a guy that I went, oh, he is going to try so hard. He is going to be super competitive. He wants to score 100 points and win MVP, and he wants his team to win. And then he's like mic'd up, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna play only with my left hand today." All right, Ant. Cool, man.
But it's like the Larry Bird game.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, from the rest of the night, I'm just gonna use my left hand.
Yeah, but he in like a competitive game. He was doing that as a like middle finger to the opponent.
Yeah. He
was doing that as a like, hey, I'm so good, I am going to beat you with my left hand.
Yeah.
Pause. It wasn't, oh, I'm gonna do this to mess around because this isn't serious.
Yeah. It's like the Princess Bride moment. Larry Bird's like, well, I hope you know I'm not left-handed.
That's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. We're sponsored by Jiffy Lube. This is the Insiders Live here on ESPN 1320 every day from 10 a.m. until noon. We'll talk some Sacramento Kings, a big week coming up for them. But first we got to pour one out for the always phenomenal ESPN program. After 23 years, ESPN is pulling the plug on Around the Horn. In summer of 2025, there will be no more Around the Horn, leaving a gaping hole in the early afternoon West Coast time slot for ESPN. And this sucks because not even the nostalgia of it, because me and my buddy Wade, who I love to death, we had our last period in high school, we had no class.
0 period.
Yeah. So we were out of school at 1:05 or whenever it was.
Yeah.
We would drive to Panda Express or La Costa, a little Mexican spot in Brentwood. We would pick up food, we'd go to my house, and we'd watch Around the Horn and PTI before going to baseball practice. And it was like, that's where my homie Wade and I like developed our core friendship to where we were like in each other's weddings. And now it's going to be gone. And not that like that happens to television shows. The thing that sucks is that Around the Horn was a legitimate, like, fun but nuanced sports talk program. And the fact that it couldn't get out of that time slot where it was at 2 p.m., I believe, Pacific, and couldn't there's so much value in a show like that where you have smart people having nuanced discussions and offering different opinions, but in a way that's not shouting at each other, and in a way where good points are rewarded and bad points are deducted, and the guy and Tony Reale has control of muting people and subtracting points, and it was a fun style of debate show that it sucks that, like we all say, everybody goes, oh, that's what we want, and people listening to sports talk radio, maybe that's what they want. But the casual person who's just turning on ESPN randomly, that's not what they want. And that sucks that style of programming is going by the wayside in favor of people shouting at each other about the Cowboys and Lakers.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the sad part of it. It's just about the Cowboys and the Lakers. You know, so I agree with you. I don't like the yell at you brand of television and even radio. Like Kyle and I do not yell at each other the whole time. There are moments where we get passionate about something that we're talking about, but at the same time, like I think it's a nuanced discussion that we're looking for. We're looking to, break things down and as much as we can educate or walk through some of the things that we're looking at. But I guess nuance is gone. That's kind of a thing that's happening right now. That nuance is completely gone. And hey, 23 years is a long time for a show to run.
Yeah.
So I mean, at some point, maybe formatting and everything else, maybe it will reinvent itself as something different, or maybe there will be a different version of it somewhere else that makes sense and is fresher and different.
Yeah.
Because when you do something for that long, you do it's so repetitive
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we'll have to see.
Yeah. So RIP Around the Horn. It was reported today in The Athletic that, I guess technically the New York Times, that ESPN will cancel Around the Horn in summer of 2025. That's going to be a bummer, man. What a phenomenal show. And like you said, 23-year run, regardless of the bigger picture talking point, is really, really good for a television show. So salute to Tony Reale, Woody Page, Tim Cowlishaw, Kevin Blackistone, J.A. Adonde.
Yeah.
The OGs of that program. And friend of our program, Kevin Clark, has been on there a lot lately. That's coming summer of 2025. We'll talk some Kings in a bit. Major League Baseball yesterday announced NL and AL Cy Young winners. Chris Sale of the Atlanta Braves wins it in the National League. Tarek Skubal wins it in the American League. No surprise there. Skubal's so sick.
Yeah.
He's just one of those guys that became must-watch TV down the stretch for me. Like every time he started, you had to watch him. And the reason the Tigers, you thought they had any kind of chance in a playoff series is, well, they can throw Skubal twice. And if they can figure out a way to win a couple of games in there, you feel really good about them winning a Skubal start. And the fact that Chris Sale, I had written off Chris Sale. And honestly, I think a lot of people had given his market in free agency. But I had determined in my brain that Chris Sale was cooked. And for him to come back at this point and not only pitch well, but pitch well for a contender and win a Cy Young, where you look at last year. So in 2023 in Boston, a 4.3 ERA in 20 starts. That's after a 3.18 and a 3.6. In 2020, he was out for the year because he was hurt, but had a 4.40 ERA in 2019. Like at age 30, when you start to decline and have a 4.4 ERA,
yep,
and then you're hurt and miss an entire season, and then you make 9 starts the next season with, okay, you're pretty effective. 2 starts the next season where, okay, you're pretty effective. Like he would look done. And then he comes back as a 34-year-old in Boston, a 4.3 ERA and in 20 starts, and he just, okay, he's not as effective. And then comes back this year, leads the league in wins, leads the league with a 2.38 ERA, leads the league with 225 strikeouts, leads the league in ERA plus and fielding independent pitching. That's FIP. He's just incredible.
Yeah, 18-3 with a 2.38 ERA is nuts.
Outstanding.
Yeah, it's absolutely spectacular. And at age like 35 season, I mean, that's just wild that he was able to figure it out and get back on the mound and be so dominant. It's shocking.
It looked like he was cooked.
And it's crazy. Chris Sale has been around forever, and he's been a good pitcher for a lot of his career. I mean, but his career win total high was 17, which he'd done 3 times before. And here we are, like at nearing the end of his career, he picks up a Cy. He's at 138 wins. It just tells you, like, modern baseball, like
we'll never see another 300-game winner.
No,
ever.
Not even remotely close to a 300-game winner.
200, it might get knocked down to 200. Like hey, that guy won 200 games. That's a surefire, because we've also gotten beyond the pitcher win as a like viable stat.
Yeah,
it's more a longevity stat at this point. But yeah, Chris Sale, you mentioned it. He had top 5 Cy Young finishes every year from 2013 to 2018. And then in 2012, he was a top 6 Cy Young finisher. And just a remarkable run. And then to cap it here with another All-Star and another Cy Young in 2024 as a 35-year-old. Salute, man.
Yeah.
What a guy.
Incredible.
All right, let's shift gears. Let's talk some NBA. We'll get to the Sacramento Kings. They have a big week coming up. Big week coming up for the 49ers as well. We'll dive into all that. And plus, James, you want to talk a little bit about the Stockton Kings?
Yeah.
And the way Sacramento is using their G League team to perfection. We'll dive into all of that here in the next hour and a half. We'll rock with you till noon. That's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. We're the Insiders. We're sponsored by Jiffy Lube. This is ESPN 1320 at Sacramento Sports Leader.
I'll be right back. I have to grab Kleenex.
Good luck. Yo! What's up, chatty ass? Hey, what's up, cool cat? Appreciate you. Oh, dude, such good TV. Such good TV. Hey, yeah, a little bit. Yeah, the Tigers sellers at the deadline and then go to the ALDS. That's crazy. What up, Michigan? Good morning, bro. Hey, George. What's up, homie? Sean, good morning. Who else is in here? Who else did I miss? What's up, Matt? Yep. Yeah, absolutely. What are we talking? Nah, hey, no. I didn't. This is legit. I'm not even joking. This did not start until well after high school for me. I didn't even drink in high school, dog. Late high school is when that started for me.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the thing is like if you're looking for like I'll throw on Sports Center if I've been like if I go wine tasting for a day and I'm out all day. We were talking about wine earlier, so it's perfect. If I'm going wine tasting and I've just been out all day, I'll throw on Sports Center just to get like a lay of what happened in the day. But if I want context on the Luka injury, I'm not going to go to ESPN and hear what Kendrick Perkins thinks about Luka's injury. I'm going to go to, what is it, Mavs Moneyball or one of their local writers. Is it Tim McMahon? Is the Mavs guy down there? I'll go read Tim McMahon. I'll go read, and I think he's with ESPN. But I'll find a person who's there locally. Kind of where it's at.
We were watching, like I was looking at the 18 wins, which won the Cy in both the American League and National League. Like, guys don't win 20 anymore. On occasion, they do.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, when was so Bob Welch won 27.
Mm-hmm.
When is the last time someone's won 27? Is that it?
I'd imagine. Here, don't look this up. Who do you think the active leader in wins is?
Oh. It's not Kershaw.
No, he is third.
Verlander.
Verlander is number one. He is at 262. He has pitched for 19 years and he's 41 years old.
Yeah.
He needs to win 38 more games, and he has averaged.
Oh, there's no way.
He won 18 in 2022, 13 in 2023. He won 5 this year as a 41-year-old. So even if he wins 6 games a year, he has to pitch for 6 more years.
Oh, yeah.
6 and change.
That's tough, man. And no one else is even remote. I mean, there's Scherzer's a little over 200, right? Like 215. Yeah.
Garrett Cole is 4th at 153.
That's so crazy. Yeah. I was thinking about it while we were talking, and like I looked up Bob Welch. Bob Welch won 211 games with a 3.47 ERA, won a Cy, was only a 2-time All-Star, but he was never going to be considered for the Hall of Fame. Right?
Yeah, right.
Just not at all. And he pitched on great winning teams, whether it's the Dodgers or the A's. R.I.P. Bob Welch. Yeah, but even like the guy I always bring up is like, how long is Scherzer just been incredible, right?
Yeah, like 17 years.
And he has 216 wins.
Yeah.
Tim Hudson has 222.
Man. I have a fun one. Oh shoot, who was it? The active leader in complete games has 26. That does not even get them in the top 1,000 all time.
That's just wild.
So crazy. Okay, here we go.
Now, back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
What's up, everybody? Good morning. That's James. I'm Kyle. We're hanging out with you till noon. Good morning to Scooter. And apparently, Scooter's in the chatty house. I didn't say good morning to him.
Oh, good morning.
My bad, Scooter. My bad, bro.
Good morning.
If you want to come hang out in the chatty house, please do. We would love to have you there at youtube.com/ESPN1320 and twitch.tv/ESPN1320. We'd also love to hear from you on the Elk Grove Kia Talk line, 916-909-1320. That's 916-909-1320. Let's talk Sacramento Kings. They returned to practice today. Practice today?
Yeah, they're going to practice today at 12:15.
So they did not practice the last 2 days.
No, they did not.
Smart. I love that for them.
That doesn't mean that they didn't have like a required shooting day or something, or like a film day, and they just did not inform the media and invite us in. But again, I think when you have so many games in so many days, we talked about this, right? Like Mike Brown said that the last 2 years they got to their 15th game at like 36 days and then 32 days. And then this year it's 26 days. So like they're tired of us as well. Like they don't want to see, James. They don't want to see Jason Anderson or Sean Cunningham.
They might want to see Sean.
Brendan Nunez.
Sean's a great dude.
He's fun.
Yeah, man. And honestly, just getting a little reset was probably good.
Yeah.
Given some of the struggles some players have had, given the just amount of basketball activity there's been, the travel, just, hey, get away for a couple of days. Get off your feet. Like you said, maybe there was a little shoot around yesterday or some film or whatever, but for the most part, just trying to separate for a couple of days, because while practice time is super valuable during the season and pretty scarce, getting a second to breathe during a season, I think, is also very important.
Yeah.
So, given the start at 8-7, it's been a little up and down. I think it was smart to get away for a couple of days and not have full blown like pedal to the metal practices.
Yeah, especially when you were just perpetually stuck in 3 games in 4 nights. Like this team is exhausted, or they were. Like this is a great moment to catch your breath and take a couple of days, spend time with your family, especially having it be at home and then a quick flight to LA. We don't have updates yet outside of what we already knew on Domantas Sabonis and DeMar DeRozan. They've been cleared to go to play one-on-one, and they've also for contact and everything else. And then on top of that, they're listed as day-to-day. So I'd be surprised if both of them, if one or not both, are back on Friday. Same thing with Malik Monk. He's been cleared to resume basketball activities and one-on-one, but he's not listed as day-to-day. He'll be reevaluated before he's back on the court after the moderate ankle sprain, which I'm guessing is a grade 2. So we're probably looking at either Friday or Sunday, Monday for Monk is kind of where I would judge by how he usually heals up. But we'll have to wait and see.
So the Kings are turning the page now that they're returning to practice. They're turning the page to what comes after this little break. So we will do the same. And it's a big week for the Kings coming up. They are at the Clippers tomorrow. NBA Cup action at the Clippers tomorrow. Then they're home against Jordi Fernandez and the Brooklyn Nets. And then the next night they take on Oklahoma City at Golden One Center. And then Wednesday they're at Minnesota. And then they finish up the week on Friday at Portland. So that's a 7-day stretch where they got 5 games. And I'm calling that game in Minnesota a tough game. That game at home against Oklahoma City is obviously a tough game. The Clippers gave them hell here at Golden One Center, so you got to list that as a tough game. This is a big stretch where I'll buy into they were tired mentally, physically. They needed some days off. That's great. But like we talked about this yesterday. Okay, fine. I'll buy that. You got your days off. You got a practice day in. Now I need to see them hit the gas a little bit and start stringing together some wins, because they haven't won more than 3 games in a row all year. And that was at October 28th, 29th, and then November 1st against Portland, Utah, and Atlanta. Those are their 1 3-game winning streak. Then they beat Miami and Toronto in consecutive games. But since then, they've been loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. I need to see him start stacking some wins here. And there's a chance to get some quality wins. I think a win against the Clippers in LA would be a quality win. You beat Oklahoma City. That's a really quality win. Even without Chet Holmgren, Isaiah Hartenstein is back for them. You go to Minnesota and beat a team that's beat you twice. That would be a quality win. So there's a chance to, I think, really get on track toward that 50 plus wins and a top 6 seed.
Yeah, you've got to get 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 games over 500. We do have breaking news. According to Chris Haynes, our friend Chris Haynes, Sacramento Kings star DeMar DeRozan back intends to make his return on Friday against the Los Angeles Clippers after missing the last 3 games. So we do have an update. Not a big surprise.
DeMar DeRozan back.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, this is something that, I think we all expected is that DeMar would be back. I mean, he's been cleared. He's day to day. And then he had 3 days after he was day to day. So I expect him to be at practice today. And look, this was just back tightness. It wasn't like he slipped a disc or something. So I'm not like horribly shocked by this.
No.
Yeah.
So the question I now have is, okay, so DeMar DeRozan's back in the mix. I would like to see De'Aaron stay as aggressive as he's been without DeMar DeRozan in the mix. And finding that balance is going to, for me, determine what the Kings do this year.
No, I agree with you 100%. I think it's a difference between, a 48-win team and a 50-plus win team right there. Like, De'Aaron needs to be who he is now.
Yep.
Like, you can't just show a window into paradise and then...
Yeah. Look how good I can be. All right, now back to a backseat.
Yeah.
Man, it's Damian said this at the beginning of the year, and he was basically like, "Of course, what do you mean? Whose team is it? It's De'Aaron's. It's not DeMar DeRozan's. It's not Domantas Sabonis. This is De'Aaron Fox is the 1A." And you saw why over those 3 games. He shot 35 times and scored 60 against Minnesota. He shoots it 30 times and scores 49 against Utah, and then shoots it 23 times and scores 28 against Atlanta. The 23 shot attempts in those 3 games were his fewest in that 3-game stretch. And that was his season high before that 3-game stretch. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's tough.
So his season high in field goal attempts was 23 against Phoenix in that overtime game in Phoenix.
Yeah.
And that was the fewest amount of shots he took in that 3-game stretch. I would love to see 23-ish a night.
I don't know. Okay, so 23 is a lot. Last year he averaged a little over 20, right? Almost 21. So 23 is a lot, but at the same time, I get where you're going. And I'd also point out, like, what we're not doing is we're not saying, hey, look, Keon Ellis went for 33 points and went 9 of 15 from 3. We need to see Keon Ellis go 9 of 15 from 3 from here on out and at least score 20 points a game. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about an elite scorer who's shown you in the past that he can average 25, 26 a game, who's right now we're averaging almost 29 a game. And this was a window into the best version of the Kings.
Yeah.
Where De'Aaron Fox is absolutely the driving force behind the team. That's just straight up.
It's everybody to me. And again, this is not anti anybody. It's just shifting how I believe the Kings need to structure what they're doing offensively. We talked about Domantas Sabonis early during the offseason, said we need to figure out how to play around DeMar DeRozan. It's like, no, you have to figure out how to play around De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah.
And DeMar DeRozan could be elite within that structure. Domantas Sabonis can be elite and be an all-NBA guy within that structure. But to me, it's got to on a regular basis, not every single night, because some nights he's going to go 1 for 12 and go, hey, it's not tonight. But on a mostly regular basis, it's got to be Fox first. The offense too often was devolving into DeMar DeRozan works for tough jumpers, and I know that's kind of his bag, but I would like to see less of that and more De'Aaron just blows past his defender and gets into the paint and causes havoc.
Yeah, I mean, I think you need both in order for this team to be great.
But I would like to see more of the latter.
Yeah, exactly. I fully get what you're saying. And again, I think when you show somebody that's who you can be, you can't just go back and say, well, that was just because everyone was hurt. It's like, okay,
I can
man,
go average almost 30, but I'm not gonna.
you put up 60, bro. You put up 60. Your ceiling now raised, and at 26 years old, almost 27, your ceiling raised, and now everyone's talking about you playing and going into your prime. Like, this is a moment where, and for his own sake, like, go get it. Like,
Yeah,
that's
dude.
it. Go get it. Go, if you want max money, go get it right now, and that's okay.
DeMar got hurt against Phoenix, right?
I believe so.
Okay. Let's see here. Where are we at? In those 4 games, so in the last 4, De'Aaron's at 41.5 points, 4.3 boards, 8.3 assists, 2 steals, half a block, shooting 57.1% from the field, 59.1% from 3.
Got it.
That is an offensive juggernaut of a player. And I would just like to, again, not that it's ISO De'Aaron as the offense all the time, but in a game like tonight against the Clippers, if he has a chance to take over the game, go for it, man. I would like to see him be the one to take a crack at that more than I would like to see DeMar DeRozan do it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So,
yeah,
that's going to be an interesting fit. DeMar DeRozan back for the Kings tonight, according to Chris Haynes, but I think that was something everybody sort of expected. Chris Haynes just confirming that. Chris Haynes of Twitter?
Chris Haynes of Elk Grove. Chris Haynes of Elk Grove.
Elk Grove's finest friend of the program, Chris Haynes, reporting that DeMar DeRozan is going to return. Does the fact that it's an NBA Cup game on Friday amplify that game for you at all?
Okay, I guess. I mean, either way, like, it's a huge
no.
game.
That's a no.
It's a huge game.
That's a no. You don't care that it's a cup game.
I don't.
Okay.
No, but I do care that it's a team that, number 1, is in your division. Number 2, that already beat you once.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, that is standing in the way of you, like, kicking off a new set of games the right way.
Yep.
Like, this is a team that you should be better than, and you need to go prove that. And again, it's tough because the Kings have played without, they've played without 3 of their star level players.
Yeah, they've had some injuries
for like a week, right? So, and it's not like they're, again, the Philadelphia 76ers who have played without Embiid most of the season, and now Paul George again, and then Maxey, and like it's all piling up. This is like ticky-tack small injury stuff that happens during the course of a season.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so what you need to do is you need to show that whatever happened during the time that those guys were out, that some of your other players stepped up and learned and are now going to be more functional pieces of what you're doing moving forward, but also that, that you play to your strengths. And that's why we keep talking about De'Aaron Fox. So, yeah, I don't, like, again, I don't buy into the cup being like this huge thing, because at the end of the day, if you win the cup but don't make the playoffs, it means absolutely nothing.
Sure.
Or if you win the cup but you're the 8th seed and have to fight through the play-in like the Lakers did, then that's fine. I don't look at it as like a huge thing that the Kings have to like be so focused on. This is a cup game.
I think it adds, okay, so for a team like, let's say the Nets are performing, I think, better than a lot of people would have expected them to be performing this year. An NBA Cup game might mean a little more. That might be like an entree, right? Like this is different. This is a chance to play for something in a year where okay, the East is weird. Maybe they weirdly make the playoffs, but you're probably not expecting it. And okay. Whereas for the Kings, I think it's like a sauce. It's just a little add-on. Where if you go in and you beat the Clippers, like, yeah, there's all these big picture implications, but also, hey, got a cup win. Nice. That's what I think it is. I'm going to be paying attention to the cup aspect of it. But to your point, if they lose 3 games in their next 15 and they're the 3 cup games, I'm not going to be like devastating.
No.
They go 12-3, but they lost the 3 in-season tournament games. It's not going to be like, wow, what a disaster. It's just a fun little side quest.
Yeah,
I like it.
I get you. I get you. And I always hear the players say, oh, well, it'd be fun to go to Vegas. It'll be a fun atmosphere in Vegas. It's like, Okay, they just had 3 days off. 2 days off in a row. If somebody wanted to leave like Tuesday morning and fly to Vegas, they could have spent the last 2 days in Vegas and got back in time for practice today. Like it's not
Sure.
that special. I mean, these are NBA players. They have the ability to go wherever they want at any time. So yeah, I mean, I think that there is a certain amount of build up to a cup game, and the fact that you lost to Minnesota in the last cup game, but what was the final by? They lost by
a point,
3 points,
4 points,
4 points. Yeah. So like you do want to make up that difference right here if you can, and sort of build some sort of lead. And then what the last game they have is Portland, right? In the cup. So
no, Houston.
Oh,
yeah.
Do they not play Portland?
They do. That's their third in-season tournament game.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, either way, I think like these games should matter, but in the grand scheme, like you're trying to build a program here. You're 8-7. The goal is to go to 9-7. The goal is to get to 50 wins plus, and the goal is to be a top 6 playoff team.
But the court's going to look different.
But the court will look different.
Court's going to look different. I'm going to be fired up. I can't wait. You mentioned kicking off this next stretch of games with a win, and we talked a little bit a couple weeks ago about the first 30 games of their schedule were a chance to really, like, man, can you get to 20-10 after 30? And I'm not going to take 20-10 off the table because who knows, but that means going 12-3. And this stretch I don't think it's going to be an easy one. We talked Clippers. You've got the Thunder in there. You're at the Timberwolves. The Blazers have been playing hard. Blazers have won 3 in a row, but I'm not going to call that a tough game. You have Houston. Houston looks really good right now.
Okay.
You've got to go to Memphis. You have the Lakers twice. The Lakers are cooking. You have to play my Pistons. No, and you have the Lakers 3 times in this stretch.
Yeah, this is where you're going to figure out if this is a team that's going to compete for a Pacific Division title, which again doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things, but still it does, because the Pacific Division is the Warriors, the Clippers, the Lakers, and the Suns. So
I keep saying there's nothing that's happened through the first 15 games that moves me off of 51 wins. That's my preseason prediction, and I'm sticking with it.
Okay.
But this is an opportunity where this is the 15 games where it'll either solidify it for me or I'll move off of it. Okay. Because if you can come out of this if you go 8-7 again and you're 16-14 after 30, it's going to feel really disappointing for me. Especially since we looked at this after whatever it was, 10 games, and we looked at the first 30 games and went, hey, you could really make some hay here.
Yeah.
And if you end that stretch 2 games over, that's going to feel like, man, you came up a little short. But on the other hand, if you get through this stretch, I said 12-3. If you get through this stretch at 10-5, so you're 18-12, and now you're 6 over, and in that process, maybe you get a nice win over Oklahoma City. Maybe you go to Minnesota and win that game. You get a couple of these tough wins. Now you've not only solidified yourself as, okay, they've righted the ship. They're a few games over. They beat some of these quality teams. Now we can start looking into the final 52 games. I just need to see them stack some wins and beat some of the teams that they've not been able to so far, like the Clippers, Timberwolves. You get the Lakers 3 times.
Even the Rockets.
The Rockets are a really good team.
They are a good team, and I think the Rockets are developing into a scary team that people around the league are taking notice of, and they're winning. Like, they've got so much talent. I mean, talk about a team like
they're loaded, bro.
Like I would be calling right now, like, can I get Cam Whitmore off your roster? Yeah. Like, I mean,
what do you want for him?
He's so buried on their depth chart. They still have Jayshawn Tate, who's barely playing, right?
Yeah.
And Cam Whitmore is not playing either, and they have 4 forwards in front of them, 5 forwards. So
Jayshawn Tate is playing 4.3 minutes a night.
Yeah.
Cam Whitmore is playing 9.9 minutes a night. He's played in 8 games.
And he's been sent to the G League a couple of times.
I mean, come on, man.
Yeah.
This is a guy, Cam Whitmore. What do you average at the end of last year?
Oh, he is really good at the end of last year.
For the season, he averaged 12 points, 4 boards, and almost an assist a game. And shot it 35.9% from 3.
Yeah, I don't know why. Again, I get it. They have a ton of talent, and some of the players that they have you've invested high draft picks in,
Mm-hmm.
and I get like what Asura Thompson and Tari Eason being your primary forwards off the bench. I
Yeah.
mean, long, super athletic, multi positional guys. Like that makes a lot of sense. They just have a luxury,
Mm-hmm.
and the Kings need to look around the league for teams with a little bit of a luxury,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe you've got something they don't have, or maybe they just need to clear up cap space and we'll accept draft picks, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But I think this is a moment where like the Kings should be actively shopping at all times to get better.
Absolutely.
Like
there's nothing there's nothing that I've seen with the roster this year that I'm going, well, I'd like to see that play out. Like take DeRozan and Fox and Monk and Sabonis and Keegan off the table, right? Like we're gonna put them away for a second. But if you can get a nice piece for Kevin Huerter, okay. Like I mean that not in I think Kevin Huerter is bad. I think Kevin Huerter can help the Kings. But if you can find a player who's going to help in a different way, I don't need to wait and see with Kevin Huerter. Like I know what he does. I know what he does for the team. And if you think there's a player who can help in different ways and ways that are more functional that are going to impact winning, then you got to go do it. I don't want the wait and see approach anymore. Like I think you kind of know what you got here.
Well, that, and I think when we get to January, you're going to get Devin Carter back at some point, January, February, whatever it might be. Like he's one of your he's a top draft pick. I mean, you're going to want to try to get him on the court to see what you have. And that's going to create just another logjam. And like, who's going to lose minutes at that moment? And it's possible that Kevin Huerter has made himself invaluable and that you can't lose, you can't take away his minutes. But it's also possible that Keon Ellis has done the same thing, and Keon Ellis at $2 million versus Kevin Huerter at $17 million is different. So like there could come a point where they try to balance this thing out a little bit. But I mean, we know they're guard heavy. And even when they lose a couple of players here, to injury, they're still guard heavy.
Yeah.
And like not everybody can play, I get it, but you need to kind of balance this thing out the right way so we don't keep asking for long athletic 3-4 combo or another big man that can do something different. And I don't think any of us are looking at the guys that are playing in the G League and saying, okay, like look, what we are seeing right now from the G League is great. Like what Isaac Jones and even Orlando Robinson going down, and we're going to talk about this, but these guys going to the G League is a good thing, but they're not going to like come in.
They're not immediate solutions
and save the season, and that's the problem. Yeah.
And the reason I bring up Kevin Huerter, just so it doesn't sound like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth here, because I think Kevin Huerter has done a nice job this year, especially when his 3-point shot isn't falling, trying to find ways to affect games. I bring Kevin Huerter up, A, because I think he'd be valuable for teams because teams always need shooting, and B, his contract. If you're going to get a substantial piece, you're going to need to move some money. And what is he, 17 million?
Yeah, 17 million.
Like that's why he comes up, not because I'm trying to kick him out.
Yeah.
Just want that to be clear. I like Kevin Huerter. All right. You mentioned the Stockton Kings. You think the Kings are using them to perfection. We will tell you how next. We'll also get into what else happened around the NBA last night and ESPN tiered NBA rosters. You'll be shocked to find out where the Kings land. That's James. I'm Kyle. We're the insider sponsored by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Hitter.
What's going on, everybody? Yeah, so Norman Powell is hurt.
Yeah. It was Amir Coffey last night.
Amir Coffey is yeah. Like that's the question. Like, why can't you find these guys? Yeah, I'm gonna make a weird statement here, Kyle. And what if, like, playing Keon Ellis more and Malik Monk more, and using Doug McDermott as your Kevin Herter sort of 3-point specialist guy, it actually like works, and you could go use Kevin Herter's salary to go get a different of a forward. Like, I don't think. Again, I like what he's doing, and if I think if you gave Doug McDermott X amount of minutes in the right situation, his 3-point shot will fall because it has throughout his career. He's a great 3-point shooter. I don't know that the drop off would be that big. Whitmore.
I like Dorian Finney-Smith.
I don't think. I mean, I get that, and a pick. I'm not giving up a pick in that situation. I would say Herter and DFS for DFS with a second rounder makes more sense. Like, his value is not nothing. Does that make sense? Sal, I don't know what happened to Ty Halliburton. I in all honesty, I think he'll be totally fine. But for right now, it's a bit of a struggle. I think the biggest thing is that whatever's going on with him is impacting their entire team like greatly. And it's just weird to see somebody who with so much confidence not play with that same confidence. I mean, 37.5 from the field, 28.4 from three. They've been talking about him being like that he had back and was it back and hamstring?
Hour number 2, that's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. We're rocking with you till noon. Then we'll hand it off to D-Lo and KC. And those guys will take you up to 4 o'clock. We've been talking a bit about the Kings and their upcoming schedule. They play again tomorrow night against the Los Angeles Clippers down at the Intuit Dome. Sacramento looking to avenge an early season loss to LA. It's an NBA Cup game. We will dive more into that in the lead up to tomorrow's contest. But the Stockton Kings played last night.
Yeah.
And it was a showcase for the Joneses and Orlando Robinson. And you're a fan of how the Kings are using their two-way players and the G League.
Yeah, I mean, look, when this team is 100% healthy, when DeRozan, Monk, and Sabonis are back, that means that there is not going to be any time for these other players. Like Orlando Robinson might step on the floor here and there, but again, Mike Brown really, really likes Trey Lyles and trusts Trey Lyles. He really trusts Alex Len. If he needs to go big, he goes Alex Len. He wants to go small, he goes Trey Lyles. Like Orlando Robinson might fit into that picture, but we're talking about a player who has played less than 80 games in his NBA career. And, it's just, he needs time on the court. And Mason Jones needs time on the court. And Colby Jones, maybe more than anyone, needs to play basketball right now. Isaac Jones needs to play basketball. Isaiah Crawford needs to get on the court, needs to play basketball. So for me, I don't always love that the Kings backload their roster with a lot of young players that cannot really help, that haven't proven that they can step in and help. Although we'd say that Keon Ellis was one of those guys and found his way into the rotation. I think if you're going to only keep 14 men on the roster and leave an open roster spot, it's really tough if one of those is Devin Carter, who's out until January, and Orlando Robinson is out until, missed the first month of the season.
Yeah.
And on top of that, Colby Jones is not someone that you're putting out on the court at all. And so all of a sudden you're down to 11 players. And if that mix of players has injuries or has which they just
quickly get very thin.
They just went from 11 to 8 like that quick, and now you're in trouble. And the quality step down when you go from, again, DeMar DeRozan, Hall of Famer. You go from Domantas Sabonis, an All-NBA center. You go from Malik Monk, 6th Man of the Year candidate the last 2 years. And then you lose those and you don't really have much to replace them with. That's when it requires a 60-point game from De'Aaron Fox for you to even have a shot at all. Like they lost. He scored 60, they lost. But for them to even have a shot, that's exactly what had to happen. For them to win on Saturday, it took all of those 49 points from De'Aaron Fox, and almost took the few more that he left on the table when he missed some free throws. So, and that's because you don't really have like this back end of the roster, the back third of the roster. A third. That's a lot.
That's way too many players on a 15-man roster.
Yeah. So now what we're seeing is that the Kings, when these players aren't getting the minutes or when they have a 3-day break, they're going down to Stockton and they're playing as a unit, which is something I also like. Scalabiciere, Scal has played really, really well, right? He played really well last year. Last night, he barely played. Like they're playing these guys as a unit. They're sending them out together and building continuity between the group, which is good because when they do come on the floor and they do get minutes together, or they do, two of them get a shot here and there, you want them to have some sort of continuity and some sort of idea of what the system they're playing in. And so I think it's a good thing. I'm impressed with the way that the Kings, number one, have found diamonds in the rough in undrafted players. I even think it's perfectly fine that they don't value second-round picks nearly as much as some other teams. Some other teams are like going out there and collecting second-round picks.
Kind of wild.
The Kings are like, yeah, I'm good. Have they made some mistakes? Sure. Like
every team does, man.
They do, but like the Jalen Slauson pick over Trace Jackson Davis, that could prove it's egregious, right? Like Jalen Slauson is no longer in your program, and the
Kings would take TJD right now.
Trace Jackson Davis is starting half the games or whatever it is.
He put up 14 and 11 last night.
Yeah, he's a pretty good little big man that you probably could have used. So anyway, like my point is that like using the G League the right way is something that I don't think a lot of teams are doing.
Yeah.
And I think using it as a place to send Orlando Robinson to get a tune-up before he played his first game,
Mhm.
good. Get him out there. Have him have contact against someone other than the other guys that you have. But also
Mhm.
remember that this was the first break where they had 3 days off where they could practice, and they took 2 of those off because they're exhausted, and they
Yeah.
practiced 1 day. So all of these young guys, they would just be twiddling their fingers, twiddling their thumbs. Like, what are we supposed to do? We can get in the gym, we can work out, we can get in the gym and we can shoot, but what we can't do is simulate game action.
Yeah.
Kings are using the Stockton Kings as the simulated game action, and I think it's great for them. I do.
I do kind of wonder how much value there is for the Isaac Joneses and Orlando Robinsons here, because the G League is notoriously thin on big men.
Oh yeah.
Because if you're a quality big man, you're in the NBA. So I do wonder, and maybe this is something that they coach around, where they run a system, or they do film study, or whatever it is to adjust for this. But I would worry about a player who's playing a lot in the G League, a big specifically who's playing a lot in the G League, developing some habits that aren't conducive to playing in the NBA. Does
No,
that make sense?
I'm with you. I'm with you.
I would wonder how they manage that with guys like Isaac Jones and Orlando Robinson.
I think what they tell those guys is go get your confidence.
Mm.
If
Just
you're
be
not
in the right spots.
Yeah, if you're not playing against a guy, then go do the job that we're asking.
Yeah.
Go set screens. Go be the roll man for
Yeah.
Isaac Jones. Like,
Sure.
go figure out how to play in the pick and roll. But also, like, look at what Nemias Queta did. Nemias Queta went down to the G League. He won. He was a all defensive team, all G League first
Yeah,
team,
yeah.
and he was second in MVP.
Yeah, because he's an NBA player.
The Kings didn't value what he did nearly as much as maybe they should have.
Sure.
And now he has started games this season for an incredible Boston Celtics team. And he's been impactful. There have been moments where he's been very good for them and help them win games. Yeah.
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 What a guy. Yeah. So do you think at some point this season the Kings fill their 15th spot with one of these two-way guys? Or do you think it's dependent on how things go in the G League?
Okay, so if they take a two-way player and convert him to a main roster player,
which is what they did with Keon last year.
Yes. If they do that, it always happens after the trade deadline.
Right.
So you would wait until the couple of days after the trade deadline, let the dust settle from what you did at the trade deadline. If you needed that extra roster spot, they could, once they are available to sign 10-day contracts, they might start signing guys to 10-day contracts like they did last year with JTA. And I think there was one other player they signed to a 10-day contract. It seems like
somebody in the chat will have it.
Yeah, like PJ Dozier was a year before. Emmanuel Mudiay, was it last year? It was Mudiay, or was it the year before?
Had to be the year before.
Yeah, so like they have used the 10-day contract as a option to bring in players and give them a look and see if you can sort of find something that works for your team.
Sure.
But then that's when you start to reward players in your program. And I think that's the other thing the Kings have done extremely well. Like, players who join the Kings, the Stockton Kings, they know they've got a shot to A, play with the big club, and B, get promoted and eventually get a full contract.
Right.
Chimezi Metu started on a 2-way contract and earned his way up to the main roster. Again, Keon Ellis is another pathway to the NBA. And if you're a 2-way player, or if you're a young guy who's playing in the G League, that's what you really want. You're begging for a pathway to the NBA. And whether it's, again, a player like Boogie Ellis, or they have a couple other guards that are like seasoned G League guys.
Sure.
But like, this is a good place to be. This is a spot that has valued promotion and valued sort of like building their program the right way and rewarding guys who play well for them.
Yeah, using the G League as an extension of what you're doing in the NBA makes so much more sense than, oh yeah, just go play down there. Go get some reps. Some reps doing what?
Yeah.
It doesn't, they have to have some kind of value. So I think that's the way to do it. And I'd be really interested to know how many, like, what different teams' philosophies are on G League squads. Like how closely is it super tight knit across the league and that's just the standard? Or is this something unique to the Kings where they're really trying to like leverage that as a player development program to instead of just that's some guys who may or may not need to come up and play a few minutes at some point?
Well, I certainly think that this season it's a different mindset for the Kings. Like very clearly, it's a different mindset for the Kings.
This year?
Yeah, we're seeing these guys go down and play a lot more. Last year, it was more about winning. It was more very specific.
Last year, they had a bunch of fringe NBA dudes.
Well, I mean, yeah, they had Jalen Noel. They had
Stanley Johnson.
Scal, who's the Jeremy Lamb was on the roster. Like there were definitely
UConn
some
legend.
players that were that you were trying to win, and I'm not sure that that's what the G League should be about. The G League should be about developing players and making players better for your parent club. Because even if you have a Jalen Noel or you have a Jeremy Lamb and they start cooking Stanley Johnson, it doesn't matter. There's really no way to bring them up. They're not on two-way contracts because they're not eligible.
No.
So unless you have a roster spot and then you can sign them to a 10-day, that might work, but that's not really the impact that you're looking for.
And if there's a business aspect to that where you're going, we want to win because we're trying to sell G League tickets, I feel like this is a way better way to do it. Like, hey, the Sacramento Kings developmental program, go see these guys before they're in the NBA.
Yeah,
look at all these success stories.
Go see Tim Hudson. Go see Eric Chavez. Go see Mark Mulder. Go see Barry Zito pitching.
Shout out to the River Cats.
With the River Cats because that's the next generation of Oakland A's.
Yeah, this is it. Anyways, James Ham there. I'm Kyle Madsen. We're hanging out till noon. We're the Insiders. We're here every day at 10 a.m. on ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Leader. Want to remind everybody as well to download and subscribe to the James Ham and Kyle Madsen Show wherever you get your podcast. The Elk Grove Kia Talk line, 916-909-1320, 916-909-1320. This guy keeps calling in, and I don't think this caller understands how this works. So let me tell everybody how this works. If you want to call the program, which we'd love to hear from you, 916-909-1320. It's 916-909-1320. Our show is two people. It is James. It is me. That's not just on air. We don't have, there's nobody behind the glass. Well, Jesse's behind the glass, but Jesse's doing his own stuff right now.
He's on his phone. I don't even know what he's doing.
Unbelievable, this guy.
Yeah.
So Jesse, who produces D-Lo and KC, we don't have a producer.
Nope.
So we do this on the fly. So when we answer the phone, it's just, you're going to be on. You're not necessarily going to be on air, but I grab the phone so it stops ringing in your ear and you're going to hear us talking, and then I'll get to you when I can. There we go. Okay. Caller is here. Don, what's going on? You're on the Insiders with Kyle and James.
Hey, it's actually Lewis.
Sorry, Lewis. Our call screener got it wrong.
No, that I didn't actually talk to a call screener.
Oh.
But hold on, I'm going to turn my radio down because I'm in my work office here, and I was listening across the room.
Okay.
Am I about to be on?
You're on, Lewis.
You're on, Lewis.
You're on the radio, man. Let's go.
Okay. All right. Man. Hey, so you know what's so interesting to me is, I mean, you're talking about development. You're talking about, how the roster is constructed and so forth. I sit back and I look and I watched that wonderful Boston Cavaliers game the other night. I see Queta, right? Nemius, a 7-footer who in the G League was runner-up for MVP. And, we chose Lynn over him. A legitimate 7-footer who's actually playing about 20 minutes a night for the Boston Celtics, who, he's got a championship ring. I look at some things that are going on right now with the group. I as a fan, right, I feel like I can say some things that perhaps the media cannot. But if I see De'Aaron Fox dribble the ball off of his ankle one more time coming down the stretch in a game that we need, right? Because that's how the Atlanta game was actually decided. He went left. Tough to see that on the scouting report, but he went left with 6 seconds left and so forth, got caught up, shot got blocked. If you look closely on that play and so forth, it looked like Trey was open.
What are we getting to, Lewis? Where are we landing the ship?
We're landing the ship with Keegan Murray and trying to figure out exactly what's going on with him, with his shot. Obviously, they're playing him defensively a lot. And here's the craziest part of it all: y'all folks get 10 hours a week to express your thoughts and your opinions, this, that, and you're just like, what do you got, Lewis? What do you got here, right? In 45 seconds, but I'm concerned about Keegan. I think that he's becoming a little bit disinterested. I'm not sure if the guys are looking for him in the ways that they should. And when I say that, I mean on the offensive end.
Right.
To me, the guy who plays the game the way that the coaches are asking them to play, which is to say, hey, all right, you catch the ball, it's not going to stick. You're going to move the ball.
My goodness. Thanks for the call, Lewis. Appreciate you.
Wasn't 45.
That was a lot more than 45 seconds.
It wasn't 45.
He got so long to talk there.
Yeah.
And that's how it works. We do the radio show. The caller calls in, you give your take, and then we move on. That's how this goes.
Yeah.
It's not the Lewis podcast.
No. And like, look, I think.
Salute to Lewis. Appreciate you. So he wanted to talk about the Kings' usage of Neemias Queta, or lack of usage of Neemias Queta. Okay. De'Aaron Fox dribbling the ball off his foot.
Yep.
And the last one was they need to get the ball to Keegan Murray. I actually don't the Keegan thing, don't disagree. The Queta thing, I think everybody has kind of acknowledged, like, might have been a miss.
Yeah.
The Fox thing, sometimes you're gonna mishandle the basketball. I'm not super worried about it.
And I'll just tell there's a big, like, Queta wasn't cut because of Alex Len. Queta was moved on from because JaVale McGee became available. And
that's worse.
Well,
I think that might be worse.
In reality, it worked out to be worse, but in theory, this is a guy that Mike Brown had trusted, that had won a championship with Mike Brown. Multiple championships with Mike Brown in Golden State. Mm-hmm. This was a guy that Mike knew would work perfectly with Malik Monk.
Sure.
There was reasons why they did what they did with Queta. Like, we don't have to agree with it. I think that you could have held him, kept him around on the back end of the bench and really worked with him, especially with like three other very different, distinctly different bigs in Alex Len, JaVale McGee, and Domantas Sabonis. But the reality is no team carries four centers. Just they don't. They don't carry four centers on the roster, especially when Trey Lyles can also play center. So you really have five guys that can play center. And so I get the Queta situation. I don't fully agree with what happened with the Queta situation, but those are like small misses. Like whether he's playing like 12 minutes or 14 minutes a night for the Boston Celtics or not, that doesn't really matter. The reason why he is able to do that is because all of the talent around him is so incredible, off the charts good, that it's possible to put him out on the court for those minutes and just set screens, just rebound, just roll to the rim as a big man, and we'll try to get you involved.
Mm-hmm.
That's I mean, it's easier to play for the Boston Celtics as a role player than it is to play for the Sacramento Kings as a role player, or the Portland Trailblazers, or name any team that's not the Boston Celtics, who are like a finely oiled machine that just won the NBA championship.
Right. Yeah, I think there's always going to be gripes there, but I don't know, man. I just Neemias Queta is not the difference between the Kings winning and losing a title.
No.
No. I think if the Kings had the benefit of hindsight and they could rewind to last offseason, he probably stays on the roster.
Yeah.
But like you said, in theory, they had a reason. They didn't just cut him because they were like, oh, this guy sucks, we need to do something different.
No, they gave him $250,000 and then didn't even let him get to camp.
Yeah.
They did the same with Nerlens Noel. You could see that they were looking for something different. Mm-hmm. And when JaVale McGee became available, when the Dallas Mavericks bought him out of like a 2-year, $20 million deal, whatever it was, and sent him packing, that was different. The other thing he brought up too, I just want to make sure we touch on, like, Keegan Murray is not disinterested. Keegan Murray is frustrated.
Yeah, that is exactly.
Those are two totally different things. Keegan Murray is a basketball hooper. Like, all he does is play basketball. Yep. There is concern that he doesn't have enough outside of basketball. and that's a concern within like the walls. Like again, the Marvin Bagley like rap career thing. Everyone within the walls was totally fine with that because players need an outlet.
You need something different in your life.
Yeah, you can't just play basketball 12 hours a day every day because it's not healthy, right? You want your players to be well-rounded, to have experiences, to live life, to go on vacation, to like you want more for them, and that's how you get a more complete player. You know, and so he's not disinterested at all. If that's what it looks like to you, that's because he doesn't have facial expressions. He doesn't emote.
I don't. I'm out on if a professional athlete is professional athleting, they are not disinterested.
Yeah,
you have to work your ass off to be a little bit good, and Keegan Murray is very good.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe Lewis really didn't mean disinterested. Maybe he did, but it's very possible. Just like the way that you're viewing him is just wrong. He's really frustrated that things that he's picking up too many fouls on stupid things that he knows are frustrating.
There's shots not falling.
He's frustrated that he's shooting 28% from three. He's frustrated like overall because he's just not living up to his own standards and thriving like he thought he would this season. And there are reasons for that, but also he needs to play better and he knows that. And like, but disinterested is the last thing he is.
Yeah. Yeah. And then what do we think about De'Aaron not having the ball in his hands at the end of games?
Yeah, he's the best fourth quarter scorer in the league.
That was wild.
Like,
did he dribble did he dribble the ball off his foot against the Hawks?
No, but he has dribbled the ball off his foot. Like
Yeah,
he turned the ball over. He had a bad turnover like one of the previous games. I think it was a Minnesota game. He had a bad turnover late. Those things happen.
Yeah.
Same thing happens with Domantas Sabonis. There's occasions where he turns the ball over 22 times in 4 games.
You know who turns the ball over a lot? Steph Curry. Good player.
He does.
916-909-1320, 916-909-1320. Got time for one more call in here on the Elk Grove Kia Talk line. Don, you're on the Insiders. What's up?
Hey, what's up? How y'all doing? This Titus.
Oh, Titus.
That last call was nauseating. Man, y'all tried to break the record for that. But he had some good points, but I feel as though when he was saying about like, you know, certain stuff as the media you guys can't speak on. But if this season isn't really like successful, we will have to look at Mike Brown. And I'm be listening for y'all to speak on that because we got the talent. As long as we don't have the injuries, we should be good.
Sure. No doubt.
That's all I got.
Perfect. Appreciate you, Titus. Thanks so much. If the Kings fall short again this year, there's going to be some tough conversations to have. The problem is here's what I'll say about that. And then we got to go and we can get your answer coming up.
Cool.
But there's so much context required when you're going to fire a coach. And if you tell me the Kings, and I think this is what Titus just said, you know, if they have injuries and they're banged up and it's, they won 45 games. Okay. Then no. But to me, there are some pretty significant shortcomings with this roster. And if those don't get addressed and it continues to plague the Kings down the stretch, I'm going to have a hard time putting it on Mike Brown. But on the other hand, if Alex Len continues randomly starting games and rotations are weird and Devin Carter comes back and they're messing with his minutes and Herters and Keon's and then okay. But before we get there, I need to see how this goes. And if Mike Brown stinks down the stretch, then we'll have that conversation then.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I'm not going to judge a guy through the first 12 games of the season where his team can't hit a 3-point shot. Yeah. Just straight up. They can't hit a 3. No. Professionals, guys who career 40% shooters can't hit a 3-point shot.
Just also real quick, we can say whatever we want. I don't know why. I don't know where this came from that we're not allowed to say certain things.
Yeah.
I don't.
We say whatever we want.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, if Mike Brown's having a bad stretch, then we'll say it. But I'm not ready to toss an 8-7 start at Mike Brown's feet when players are missing shots and a bunch of guys are banged up.
Yeah.
No, like I said, we'll see how the season goes, and we'll act accordingly. Appreciate the call, Titus. Appreciate the call, Lewis. If you want to join the show, 916-909-1320, 916-909-1320. Apparently, it's just venting frustrations about the Kings. Go for it. That's what we're here for. That's what the program's here for. We're the insiders. He's James. I'm Kyle. We're sponsored by Jiffy Lube. Back in a second here on ESPN 1320 at Sacramento Sports Center. Clear.
Wow. Did we miss this? That Hubie Brown will call one last game for ESPN this season before retiring?
Yeah, I saw that this morning.
Yeah. He turned 91 in September. Steve Kerr's out there stealing his game plan. Sorry, we're quiet. Johnny G, the decorations are holding up well. I did have enough weight on Jack, so he did not tumble. Oogie Boogie did take a tumble, and I've got to rehab him here in the next couple of days. He'll be all right though. I have not put their Christmas outfits on them yet, which is just hats, but yeah. Uncle Looney, yeah, this is actually, I don't totally disagree, but I'd also point out that Mike has had an opportunity to start a defensive player over an offensive player, and he hasn't chosen to do that. And he understands that the front office wants offense, and he also understands that Doug McDermott is literally like a 41% career three-point shooter. He's a great shooter. So do the Kings need some? I mean, whether Doug McDermott's there or not, the Kings still need somebody else that's like 6'8", 6'9", and can play defense, play the 3, the 4.
Yeah, facts.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know us.
Yep. Do you think McDaniel's got a fair shot? Yes.
Where's he playing now?
Yeah, where is he playing now? Uncle Looney. I think they saw everything they needed to see. And what they saw was Mo Harkless and KZ Okpala.
Yeah.
And said, okay, we've seen this before.
Yeah. Hard pass. Gotta get an Elk Grove Honda. That's such a catchy line. Shout out to them. Shout out to whatever advertising agency came up with that.
It wasn't me. Yeah, I didn't do it. I would like to take credit for something as profound.
Yeah, it's tough for D'Anthony Melton, but that's kind of the risk you run signing a guy who's perpetually injured.
Yeah.
Season-ending injury.
Yeah, ACL, right? Yeah. Uncle Looney, a lot of players just need minutes, but you also, when you're on the court, like every minute you get is an opportunity. And if you can't take advantage of your opportunity, then they move on to the next guy The NBA is a tough league, and there's literally an entire secondary league that is dying to get into your league. And then there's a bunch of guys in Europe, and there's a bunch of guys in college that are coming up. Like if you can't perform, that's a problem. And that's why I think, again, using the G League to build guys up to get their confidence. We didn't really talk about the stats, but like I think all three of the Joneses had 20 points on Friday. The last time they were at the G League, which was a couple of days ago. And then last night, Colby Jones, 27 points. Mason Jones, 27.7 assists. Colby Jones, the guy who gets to the pro level and
30.
Can't figure it out. 30. Mason Jones, 16 points. Orlando Robinson, 18 points, 4 rebounds, 2 blocks. Isaac Jones, 16 points, 14 rebounds, and a steal. Like these are numbers that aren't going to translate, but you're building confidence with young guys.
Now, back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
James Ham there. I'm Kyle Madsen, the handoff with, I think it's Damian Day today. Damian Barling going to join us in about 10 minutes. 916-909-1320, 916-909-1320. Do you want to go do that? And I'll get to our friends calling in. That's the Elk Grove Kia talk line, 916-909-1320. Don, you are on the Insiders with Kyle and James. What's up?
Oh, sorry. I think I got the wrong number. I thought it was Kyle, James, and Lewis.
Oh, so. Yeah, no. Well, what's up, man?
No, I just wanted to say that these guys, I think these guys will be all right. The Kings, talking about the Kings, I think they'll be all right. I think you guys brought it up. It's just a matter of getting everybody back and getting everybody back in the groove, and I think they'll be all right.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Thanks for the call, Don. Appreciate you. Yeah, that's that guy. Hopefully, safely make your turn. Yeah, man. That's the other thing with the Kings is if you're like, I'm not gonna lambaste a team that goes 8-7, has some injury stuff, had some not even uncharacteristic, like bad outlier shooting stretch of 8 or 9 games, whatever it was to start the year. I'm not going to go fry that team after 15 games. Now, like we just said, and the caller said he thinks the Kings are going to be fine. I'm right there too. I think they're going to be okay. 51-31. I've seen nothing that moves me off of that through 15 games.
Yeah.
If they've fallen short of your personal expectations, okay. And if you're ready to fire people and trade people, okay. I'm just not personally there yet. Again, we just talked about the next 15. Big stretch coming up. If they go 8-7 in their next 15 and they're 16-14 through 30, I'm going to have some questions. But I can't bring myself to make sweeping declarations about this team based on what we've seen so far, because I think there's been some outlier bad performances that we're going to see ascension to the means with some of these guys. And I think they've been banged up the last couple of games.
Yeah, and I'm going to add to that too, Kyle, that you talk about the poor shooting early in the season. Sometimes that happens, and they've worked on it. They've cleared up a lot of it. They're shooting 34% from 3 all of a sudden, which means I don't even know what they're shooting over the last 4 games or so. But
it looks better.
Over the last 4 games, if you go from 28% to 34%, that means you shot a much, much, much higher percentage, right? But I'd also point out, like, I think there's one stinker the entire season. And it's the second night of a back-to-back, which, again, that's not an excuse. But they had an overtime win over the Suns, and then they got stomped by the Spurs. That was a 20-point loss. Outside of that, a 2-point loss, a 4-point loss, a 3-point overtime loss, a 9-point loss, which is the highest outside of that San Antonio Spurs loss, a 4-point loss in overtime, and a 1-point loss.
And Right. It's not like they're. I don't know. They've had the Spurs loss was bad. That was one of those ones that looked like they threw their jerseys on the court and said, "We're done for tonight."
Yeah.
And that happens sometimes. It happened a lot last year, which is why I think people are a little more sensitive to it, which makes sense. I totally get it. And if you want to have a conversation about their overall roster, and if this is a roster that's going to go win a championship, okay, we can talk about that. But that's just an extension of the offseason conversation and some of the conversation we had yesterday about the draft. I think they need more athleticism on the wings. I think every team kind of needs that.
Yeah.
It's just what every team looks for. But the Kings specifically really need help. The fact that Keegan Murray is the only guy who can really kind of do what he does on the court for them as a legit 3-and-D option who's 6'8" and can guard multiple spots in the front court.
Yep.
Like that's a problem with the roster, but that has nothing to do with the first 15 games. We knew that was a problem going in. And if you want to be frustrated with that, okay.
Yeah,
but I don't understand the value of going. They're 8-7, but man, they need wing depth. Like, yeah, bro, we know.
Yeah,
we know.
We've been saying it for
realistically.
I've been saying it for 3 years.
Every problem they've had for the last 3 seasons comes back to that.
It comes back to one thing.
Yeah,
you need a second Keegan Murray.
Yep,
and not Chris, but you need a second Keegan Murray. You do. I mean, like I used to say this all the time. People get frustrated. You don't need fewer Harrison Barnes players. This was a couple of years ago. You don't need fewer Harrison Barnes players. You need more Harrison Barnes players.
Yeah.
And they went out and they got the level of skill of Harrison Barnes, Malik Monk, Kevin Huerter, Keegan Murray, and look at what you all of a sudden you turned into a 48-win team because you didn't go get another Domantas Sabonis. You didn't go get another De'Aaron Fox. You went out and you got another player that was the same, like, we'll lump them all together, like sort of level of player that Harrison Barnes was. And you went from being a bad team at 30 wins to a really good team at 48 wins. And it's because it's not always about the top tier player that you have to get. Sometimes it is about fit. Sometimes it is about finding a role player that just makes sense. And that's why sometimes in the draft, don't draft the best player available. Draft the best fit for your team. That's okay, especially at number 13. It's okay to draft a guy that just fits your roster better and deal with that later. You know, it's okay if you would have drafted Tristan Da Silva and he wasn't as good as Dalton Connect, but all of us would be sitting here saying, well, at least you have a 6'8" guy who can play defense and shoot a three.
Develop. Yeah, and
you can develop. Like, those are the things where, like, I think we are hard on the team in specific ways, but we're not hard on the team in a way that, you know, Stephen A. Smith yells and screams at everybody. Yeah. It's just in a different way. It's in a real way where we're having honest discussions.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. 916-909-1320. 916-909-1320 is the Elk Grove Kia talk line. It's time for everybody's favorite radio segment, Mitch in New Jersey. Mitch, what's up, man?
Kyle, how we doing? James?
Doing well.
Cool.
What's up, man?
Is it still raining over there?
Yeah, it's raining.
It's pouring, man.
We got the rain too. We're going to get it tomorrow.
I didn't have my sunroof open today. Salute to me.
I wish we had drafted Connect. He's a good shooter.
Yeah.
Some size. I'm tired of drafting these guys. It seems like every 2 years we draft just to trade. It's not like blackjack. We got to get Tristan would have been another good draft choice. He played at Stanford right down the block. We got to make another trade. We got another big guy. I think we'll be okay. And let De'Aaron Fox shoot as much as possible. Let him be selfish.
Awesome. Thanks for the call, Mitch. Appreciate you. Oh, yeah, man.
That's a very interesting statement, Mitch, that you made.
What?
You drafted to make a trade. Okay. I get that. Because I think it is very possible that Devin Carter is a player that you did draft in the same way that you drafted the best player you thought was the best player available, even if he was injured. Maybe you thought you're getting another Tyrese Halliburton type situation where a year from now you could move on from that player to go get something bigger and better.
Yeah.
Maybe the pathway to get what you needed wasn't there on day one, but maybe at the February trade deadline, it will be there.
Yeah.
And you will still have him, and now he will be healthy, and you will have helped rehab him up to that point and maybe that's part of the plan. I don't know.
If that's legitimately what they're doing, and I don't know, but if it is, they need to cut the BS. The urgency is way too high to be like, okay, hey, here's how we're going to get the player that we need. We're going to draft a guy that we don't need. And then he's hurt, but we're going to rehab him. And then we're going to play him a little bit. And then we're going to trade him for the guy we need.
Okay.
Or you could have just drafted the 6'6" bucket.
But
and avoided all that.
What if you had a trade that almost happened during the draft?
Which apparently they did.
And multiple, there was one or two trades that almost happened, and you almost traded that pick. And then you looked at the group of players as assets and not players and said, who is the best asset moving forward? Even if it's a diminished asset today, who will be the best asset in February? Who will be the best asset next summer? And maybe you chose wrong. Maybe your stock pick hasn't gone up as much as you thought it would, or we're still waiting for the stock to go up. But still, like it's an interesting point that Mitch brings up, because in all honesty, I personally thought that when they drafted Tyrese Halliburton, it was not to replace De'Aaron Fox, but midway through that season, you were like, uh-oh. And then when they drafted Davion Mitchell with the number 9 overall pick in the next draft, I thought, okay, who's going?
Yeah, right.
Like, you can bring these guys, they can be there for a year together, but long term, somebody is the odd man out.
Yeah.
And we learned very quickly the odd man out was not De'Aaron Fox, and whether that was because of the contract or whatever, it was Tyrese Halliburton.
Right.
But it yielded you the player that you really wanted.
Sure.
And so, yeah, I just think it's an interesting point, Mitch. Of all the points Mitch has made over the years, this is an interesting point.
Yeah, he brought that up. He said De'Aaron Fox should shoot as much as he wants. I'm right there with him.
Yep.
Totally agree. And he wanted him to draft Dalton Connect, which you talked about yesterday.
Yep.
Probably love to have a 6'6" bucket getter right about now.
Yeah, Dalton Connect is playing really well, but again, we do have to let Devin Carter actually play the game before we make a judgment. It's fun to make the judgment now and after flame them.
Connect goes for 37 on 9 made threes.
Yeah, no, I mean that's
Did you watch those, by the way?
I did not.
It was the kind of one where he'd peel off a screen and the defender would be right in his pocket and he'd still just raise up and fire and knock it down. And everybody in the arena knew it was going to go down when he rose and fired. Like, man, that's fun.
Yeah.
That's super fun.
He got on a heater.
Yeah.
It
definitely would have made sense, but alas, they drafted Devin Carter. We will see if he's in the rotation. Maybe they drafted him to trade him. Who knows? That's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. We're the Insiders. We're sponsored by Jiffy Lube. The Handoff with Damian Barling coming up in just a minute. Want to remind you that right now, ESPN 1320 is excited to give our listeners a chance to win tickets to see Charlie Wilson at Hard Rock Live on February 15th. All you have to do is enter online at ESPN1320.com for a chance to win tickets to the show. Time for the Handoff. Damian Barling of D-Lo and KC. I'll jump on here at noon. They'll take you up to 4 o'clock.
What group was Charlie Wilson a part of?
I don't know.
The Gap Band.
No.
Do you know the Gap Band?
Nope.
Yes, you do.
Maybe.
You definitely do. You dropped the bomb on me.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's the Gap Band.
Okay. Hey, Damian.
Wasn't there also a Tom Hanks movie from Sac State?
Tom Hanks, Sac State legend.
Charlie Wilson's War? Am I wrong?
Maybe.
No, I don't think you are. I don't think
that
you
sounds
are.
like a
I
thing.
think that's correct. That's a different Charlie Wilson. I think.
Somebody in the chatty house, I believe Bebe in the chatty house, suggested, because we were trying to figure out, why does Tyrese Halliburton get all this hype? 18th best player in the league, by the way. 4-7-1 last night.
Yeah, 19th was Domas, 20th was De'Aaron.
Yeah. Top 20 player, Tyrese Halliburton, hey, 1 for 7 from the field last night.
I'll tell you, Tyrese Halliburton, the top 3 player when it comes to D-Lo's prize picks.
That's big time.
Come on, man.
That's big time. Here,
I looked at my past lineup. 5-0 when I take the Tyrese under. 5-0 when I take a Tyrese under.
A less.
That's what I said. I said 5-0 when I take a Tyrese less.
Oh, sorry. My headphones are messed
up.
Yeah,
I used your headphones yesterday. I'm going to get you some new ones.
Okay.
That's a true story. I did. I'm going to get you some different ones.
Why?
Well, because when I say less, you hear, when I say you heard under.
It's just a little, I know. I just got to adjust it.
Just shake the wire.
My bad.
A little short. That's all it is.
what were we talking about?
Tyrese Halliburton.
Tyrese Halliburton. Yeah.
He sucks.
Yeah. So we were trying to figure.
Right now, he's not good right now.
Right. We were trying to figure out why he had this meteoric rise to NBA stardom in a way that De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis have not. Like Tyrese Halliburton became this darling of the NBA.
Yeah.
And we were like, well, he's in Indianapolis. It's not like Indianapolis is New York or LA or Miami.
Oh, and Domas was there right before him.
Yeah,
right.
who played in Indy. And so
making all-star teams. And,
right. And so we were kind of talking about how, okay, well, they were like the number one offense and the pace was crazy and they were having, but I kind of got back to, well, Hoosiers. Everybody knows Indiana because of Hoosiers. And because Larry Bird coached there and Reggie Miller, and they kind of have this. So we decided that I think it was Bebe said, well, Tom Hanks went to Sac State. Maybe that's the way we can start getting the national narrative on Sacramento's side. So we're trying to make sure that everybody knows Tom Hanks, Sac State legend, Stingers up, baby.
I like it.
Convoluted explanation.
No, but it's good. Tyrese, I think part of the Tyrese thing is the I don't know. Hatred's not the right word. The disgust of Sacramento at the time that deal was done. Like Sacramento was just looked at as a joke. And they were a garbage franchise and hadn't made the playoffs in umpteen years and all of these different things. And here you got this, as they say in wrestling, this white meat baby face who's just smiling from ear to ear. He's doing everybody's podcasts. He's agreeing to every interview. And it's like, oh, Tyrese was just done so wrong by the say. He's the greatest player we've ever seen. He's the greatest point guard we've ever seen. God, he's so good. They traded their only good player. And then, of course, Tyrese fuels the fire by going, well, I was the only one who wanted to be there. Nobody else wants to be in. I actually wanted to be in Sacramento. So he gathers like sympathy, like, oh, then it becomes, thank God Tyrese got out of there. And he's good, right? So
sometimes.
Well, most of the time he's good. Well, in past seasons, he's been good. And so he gets to Indiana. And he does what he swore to God that he couldn't do in Sacramento, and that's shoot the ball. Now, all of a sudden, he's a scorer. He's a scorer in addition to a facilitator. And you start to see something like there were people literally, us being two of them, begging him to shoot the ball.
Yes.
Begging him to be more aggressive offensively. His dad would tell us on our radio show, we've been telling him to do that for years. He would say that at press conferences to James. People have been telling me to shoot more for years. And then he gets to Indiana, and all of a sudden he can do it. So he looks different when he gets to Indiana. And they have that great little run. They make the move for Pascal Siakam, and they look like a serious team. And again, I think all of this has to do with media narrative and likability. He is likable. He will agree to do your podcast. He will agree to do everything. People like that. De'Aaron is not doing that. Domas would so much rather throw himself into traffic. This is the first question I asked him when we talked to Domas. How much do you hate this? Like right now, talking to us right now, how much do you hate it? And he just kind of laughed it off like, yeah, I've been doing this for a couple hours. I'd rather be with my family. But he was there for a purpose, and it was to talk about that reality show. But Tyrese will talk to you about anything. And those people who vote and do all of that stuff and create these articles and these narratives and these TV shows, they love that. Give me access, and I'm going to talk nice about you. And that's all it really boils down to. Tyrese is a good basketball player. Tyrese is a really good basketball player. The question right now is what's going on with him? Because he looks terrible. It's not that he does. Oh, he looks like ass. He looks like a shell of the player he was last year. And the question should be why? This was a team I thought that was going to take a step up. Like I thought Indiana was going to be really good this year. I look like an idiot. They look bad.
Yep.
And they don't have anything left to do except get better. Their move was Pascal Siakam.
Right.
Good move, but that was their move.
They look demonstrably better if Tyrese is averaging 22 and 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's not.
And not 6 and 8 or whatever he's at. He's at more than that.
Like the prize picks number was like 18 last night. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I couldn't hit less fast enough.
You got so excited to do that.
It was at 18. Tyrese wasn't going to score 18. Told you 5-0 when I take the Tyrese under. I took the over, the more. I took the more one time.
Just keeps.
I took the more one time. Lost.
Oh, yeah.
You don't take the more on Tyrese.
It's like the old Keegan Murray dunk.
There's a reason.
Don't do it.
There's a
Oh
reason.
no, that was my number.
You what was the number?
It was always 0.5.
Oh,
All I
he
needed
good
was
for
one
it.
dunk.
He was good for it 6 minutes in.
Every single
It was
game. You're like,
uncanny.
Keegan Murray dunk.
It was unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah,
Tyrese
the Pacers look bad.
struggling.
I mean, the whole East is kind of weird. I think the Bucks are coming around a little bit.
Maybe.
Mhm.
I think they are.
Yeah.
I don't think Philadelphia is or will. I think Philadelphia's season might
They're
be cooked.
cooked, bro.
I think they're all going to get
they're
fired.
cooked, bro.
And that's a good. Well, I don't know. Maybe Nick Nurse is a struggle. But Daryl Morey getting fired is fun.
Yeah.
Which I shouldn't say, but Daryl Morey sucks.
More of this coming up on D'Lo and KC.
Yeah. Matt George, final hour. Katie from the Wake Up Call will be with us.
Oh,
She's been watching Receiver. Man, she's got some
wow.
takes. Fire up NinersWire.com for this one because
I
she's
can't
got
wait.
takes.
I can't wait. Katie of the Wake Up Call says
Oh,
XYZ.
I cannot wait for you to hear this.
Outstanding. Well, that's Damian Barling.
It's
D'Lo
one
and
of those
KC.
things where she starts to tell me and I have to hit it with, don't tell me anymore. I need to hear this
Save it
live
for
on the air.
Save it for the air. D'Lo and KC coming up next. That's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. We're the Insiders. We are back with you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Until then, drink water and be nice to people. Woo!